Hello mates, what's up? This is Labonee speaking, and in my today's video I am going to discuss the most controversial part of English grammar, and especially SSC English, the usage of few, a few and the few. And throughout this video we shall keep one focus to understand the subtle differences in order to avoid common traps that will make us boost our grammar score. And definitely at the end of this video we shall do some practice questions based on our previous year question papers. So before going to start out this video, I want to say if you are new here in my channel Labonee, please subscribe my channel, press the bell icon, share it to others and hit the like button and leave your comment in the comment box below. So without further ado, let's go with me. So in my today's video I am going to discuss 5 objectives, and they are: first quantifier few, second quantifier a few, third quantifier the few, then quick revision tips you can say for the examination, and the last objective PYQ based analysis. So throughout this video you will cover up 5 objectives that will help you to know the basic thing about their usage, which will help you to gain your knowledge and boost your score with full clarity. So let's go with me to know all about it. So at first we shall discuss the first quantifier, that is few. What is few, how to use it, and what is its structure? So few means one kind of negative connotation, which means hardly any, not sufficient, and it carries a negative tone, and we shall use this few always with countable plural nouns, which means whenever you write few in sentence you should use it with countable plural nouns, like few books, few men, few cars, few students. Like this, they are all countable plural nouns and they carry one kind of negative connotation, means a very small number which is not sufficient enough. So if we look at its structure, we can see few is sitting with plural countable nouns. So in its structure we can see here few is used with plural countable nouns, plural countable noun. So let us discuss this specific thing with an example. If you see this example here, few students passed the examination. Here students is countable noun. Countable noun because we can count students. How many students? 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. And few is here negative connotation, which means few students pass the examination, not sufficient. Very small amount of students which are not sufficient in accordance with the size of the class. A very small amount of students pass the examination. So it implies one kind of insufficiency or negative tone inside of this sentence. That's why we use few in order to express any insufficiency or disappointing result, or in any kind of, you can say, negative sense. Like in this example we can feel it, few students pass the examination, almost none, one kind of disappointing result here. So how to understand if any sentence implies insufficiency or disappointing result, or like a very small amount of thing which is not sufficient, you have to understand that we should use few. And if we see the subject, or you can say noun here, yes, if it's not countable plural noun, then you shouldn't use few, because few is used with countable plural nouns. If it's countable plural nouns, then you should use it, and if it expresses insufficiency or disappointment, then definitely you must choose few instead of any option. So this is the main thing about few. Yes, so what we gain from here, few, negative connotation, we should use plural countable noun with it, and we should use when the sentence implies insufficiency. So that is the main thing about few. Next we shall go through the second quantifier. So what is second quantifier? That is a few. So what is it? What is its structure and example? So on we shall discuss one by one. A few. So what is a few? A few means a small but positive quantity. So a few means a small, just like few, but unlike few, it gives us one kind of positive quantity. In our discussion of few, we got one kind of disappointing result or negative connotation, but in the usage of a few, we shall get positive quantity. Maybe it's small, but still we shall get some kind of positivity here. So you can see here the structure very clearly how to use it. Well, we can say a few means some, but still it carries a positive tone, and it is also used with countable plural noun. It gives us positive connotation, and it is also used with countable plural nouns. In this structure, you can see a few is used with plural countable noun. For example, if we say a few students passed, maybe the amount is small, but still it's hopeful that at least some students have passed the examination. It doesn't give us anything like disappointing result, none of students or hardly anyone else, not like that. A few students passed, it means some did pass but not everyone else, but still some passed. It means one kind of hopeful and positive outcome. How to understand in any sentence key signal, like if the sentence implies sufficiency or optimism, like it's okay, it's hopeful, it's okay, it's sufficient, then you should use a few, then you should mention a few with the subject. And if the subject is countable plural nouns, then definitely you must use a few with its positivity. So this is the thing what you have to understand, why we should use a few. If it's positive, then we must choose a few. If it's countable plural nouns, the subject, then definitely you can use a few. But if it's negative and also countable plural nouns, then few, not a few. So this is the big difference between few and a few. Yes, next we shall know the second quantifiers, that is the few. The third quantifier. Next we are going to discuss elaborately the few. So third quantifier is the few. So what is the few? We have to understand it's quite different from the other ones, that is few, a few, what we discussed previously. The few indicates a specific known group, something specific, something definite, not indefinite. Well, if I talk about any specific group or any specific person, then we must use the few. Like the few group of people, it's specific. You have to be specific when you are using the few. So the few refers to a specific, maybe it's small group, but it should be specific. Yes, and that's why we use definite article the before it. The few, it makes it specific because the is definite article and it should be definite. So when we should use it, when it comes to specific reference, like the few who studied hard succeeded. So it is specific known students. Then prior mention, he had many books, but the few he kept were precious. Specific books already mentioned. Then definite group, the few survivors were rescued. Also a known and specific group. That's why we must say the few is used when you are specific and known, not any indefinite objects. So this is the thing when we should use the few. So this was the main thing about the third quantifier, the few, when we should use it and how to use it. Next. So next we shall go through some common mistakes or tricky scenarios in their usage. The first is few and little. Few is used with plural countable nouns, but if it's uncountable noun, then you must use little instead of few. Otherwise it will be wrong. For example, few money, but money is not fixed here. It's not countable, so we shall not use few money because it's uncountable, so we shall use little money instead of few. Second, article confusion. If you don't use a with few, then it will change the complete scenario. It will be then negative connotation. Few students or a few students. One is negative, another one is positive. A few. Third is the few trap. Sometimes we have seen the usage of the few, but if you don't write the few, then it will not make it definite or specific. And the few is used when something is specific or definite. Fourth, singular noun error. So we shall not use few with any kind of countable singular noun. Definitely not. We should use it with plural countable nouns like few books, few cars. Not few book, few car, which are countable noun, but it is a singular noun, not plural noun. So we shall use it with plural countable nouns, not singular noun. So this is the main thing what we should understand about their usage. If you don't understand, then it becomes quite tricky for you. So next part, we shall go through a quick revision to understand their usage. First, few, not a few. So few means negative connotation, hardly any, and we should use countable plural noun with it. Then a few, which is positive. It's also small amount like some, but it gives us positivity, and we should use with countable plural noun just like few. And then the few, it's specific. Small group of people, something specific amount of information. It should be specific, and we should use also the few with countable plural nouns, just like few, a few. Memory tricks, you can say, I have made it, this kind of memory tricks. It's quite easy to keep it in your psyche, how to use. If you see no a or the, it means it's completely negative. No means negative, so few. And if you see a, positive, because A positive blood group, so it comes to this point, A means positivity, so it is a few. And then the few means specific because the it's a definite article, so it should be definite and specific. So the few means specific and definite. So you should keep it in your mind very easily. Next exam strategy, you have to understand whether the noun is countable or uncountable, whether it's positive or negative, the sentence, what it implies. So with the help of it, you can use whether we should use few, a few, or the few accordingly. So this was the main thing about the three quantifiers, how to use them with quick revision, example, and so on. So next we are going to start out the most important thing, that is PYQ best practice questions. So we shall do 15 important questions based on it one by one. So let's go. The first question is here. Although the lecture was highly publicized, students showed up leaving the auditorium nearly empty. So if you read the sentence, although the lecture was highly publicized, students showed up leaving the auditorium nearly empty. Look at this word nearly empty, which implies one kind of negative sense, means almost empty. None of students were there, none of students, almost out of the auditorium. So it gives us one kind of negative sense. Hence we know negative sense is used with few. So few is the correct answer because this word itself gives us one kind of negativity. So few is the correct option here, few. And the remaining option are incorrect. So in this way, you have to understand which one will be applicable here. You have to read the sentence very carefully, then choose it minutely. Next question. Second question is, I have friends in the city, so we meet up almost every weekend to explore new restaurants. So if we read this sentence very clearly and minutely, after reading it, we can feel the person hangs out every day with friends, which implies a positive connotation. If you see this sentence again, we meet up almost every weekend, it means the person hangs out every day with his or her friends. We don't know the person is male or female, but he or she hangs out with his or her friends. Yes, every weekend he or she hangs out. This sentence itself implies the sense of positive connotation. So we meet up almost every weekend. Almost every weekend means we meet up at least 2 or 3 days a week. It means it gives us positive sense, and in positivity we must use a few because it gives us positive connotation. That's why few is the correct option here, and the remaining option are incorrect because it gives us positive sense. And if we check here, friends also are countable plural nouns because we know a few, few, and the few all are used with countable plural nouns, and here friends are countable plural nouns. 2, 3, 4, we don't know, but we can count it at least. A few friends in the city, so we meet up almost every weekend to explore new restaurants. Next. So next question, if we read, points that he made during the debate were valid, but overall his argument lacked depth. Again, let me read it. Points that he made during the debate were valid, but overall his argument lacked depth. After reading this question, what you feel? As if it talks about insufficiency of points. Yes, if you read this part very carefully, you can feel it, but overall his argument lacked depth because there was one kind of insufficiency of points during his debate, which made his argument one kind of vague, enigmatic, opaque, which was not clear sufficiently because of lack of adequate points. Yes, and that's why when it comes to insufficiency, we must use few because it gives us one kind of sense of negative connotation, negative tone. So we must use here few points, and points is also countable plural noun. So we must use few because it implies one kind of disappointing result, insufficiency, negativity. So few definitely, and also points is countable noun. Countable, we can count it very easily. So here few is the correct option without any doubt, and the remaining are incorrect. A few, the few, little, whatever. Little should be used with uncountable plural noun, but few is the correct option here. So next is, next question is, he is lonely man who keeps to himself. He has interaction with his neighbors. He is a lonely man who keeps to himself. Who? Relative pronoun, like the, whom. He has interaction with his neighbors. So what you feel through this question when you read it? if we read it again, we can find out two words, lonely man. And these words itself imply a negative tone, lonely man who keeps to himself. It means he has one kind of negative interaction with his neighbors, which means one kind of disappointing or negative sense. So we should use few, because few is used with negativity. That's why few is the correct option here. Few interaction with his neighbors. And the remaining option are incorrect. He is a lonely man who keeps to himself. He has few interactions with his neighbors. This is the thing. Next. The question is here, could you please give me minutes to finish reading this report before we start the meeting? Could you please give me minutes to finish reading this report before we start the meeting? What you feel when you read this sentence? It means the person is asking here sufficient amount of time positively to finish his reading the report before he or she start the meeting. It means the person is asking one kind of sufficient amount of time to finish the report before they start the meeting, which is a positive connotation. And when it is a positive connotation, we all know we use a few, not little, not the few, not few, a few. Little bit amount of sufficient time which he needs to complete the reading. That's why a few is the correct option here. Next question we see here, public figures who attended the charity gala managed to raise a significant amount of money. Public figures who attended the charity gala managed to raise a significant amount of money. What does it mean? So if we look at this relative pronoun who and the sentence, complete sentence, the relative clause who attended the charity gala managed to raise a significant amount of money. It means this who indicating this specific group of public figures which are definite and specific. And when the matter of definite and specific comes here, it means we should use the few because it deals with specificity, something definite. So here we should use the few in order to express the particular group of public figures which is definite and specific. The few public figures who attended the charity gala managed to raise a significant amount of money, and the rest options are incorrect here. The few is the correct option. Well, this was the main thing, how to understand the usage of these three quantifiers, few, a few and the few. Next is, unfortunately, politicians are truly dedicated to environmental conservation, so legislation progress very slow. It's very easy to understand through this sentence if we look at this word for unfortunately and very slowly, which gives us one kind of negative tone like insufficiency of loyal politicians who are dedicated and devoted to environmental conservation. It means when the matter is insufficient, disappointed, then we should use few, because few gives us one kind of disappointment, negative connotation. Yes, negative connotation. And when it is negative, we must choose few instead of any other options. Not the few, not much, not a few. Unfortunately, few politicians, and even politician also countable noun. It is countable noun and definitely plural. That's why we must use few politicians are truly dedicated to environmental conservation and so on. So here few is the correct options. Next is, don't worry about the grocery list. We still have apples left in the basket, which should be enough for the pie. Which should be enough for the pie. This specific part of the sentence implies sufficient amount of pie, which is positive tone, and when it is positive tone we must use a few as the correct option because it gives us positive connotation. And that's why we shall choose a few instead of few, the few and little. And we must not use little when we know apples is countable plural noun, not uncountable. So we must choose here a few apples left in the basket, which is sufficient. Of course it is positive tone when you have sufficient, which should be enough for the pie. Don't worry about the grocery list. We still have a few apples left in the basket, which should be enough for the pie. So a few is the correct option here because it gives us positive connotation. Next is words that she spoke comforted him deeply during his time of grief. Comforted him, that she spoke comforted him deeply during his time of grief. If I read the sentence again, words that she spoke comforted him deeply during his time of grief. And if I check this relative clause here and this relative pronoun that she spoke comforted him, that she spoke, which indicates these certain words which were spoken by the person. So here the few should be used as a correct option because it talks about something definite. Something definite. And when it's definite, we must choose the few because the few deals with something specificity, which is definite, which is known, which is specific. The few words that she spoke comforted him deeply during his time of grief. So here the few is the correct option. Next one is, well, the sentence is here, because of the harsh economic climate. Look at this word, harsh economic climate. New businesses managed to survive their first year in this neighborhood. When you look at this thing, it gives us one kind of negative tone, And when it is negative, you should know which one you should use. That is definitely few, not a few, not little, not anything else. A few. That is few. So when we see here the sentence, because of the harsh economic climate, it means it implies one kind of negative sense, negative tone. You should choose few as the correct option because few is used with negative tone in a sentence and it is used with plural countable noun. Few new businesses. It means almost none, which we have. This is not sufficient. Because of the harsh economic climate, few new businesses managed to survive their first year in this neighborhood. So here few is the correct option. Next question, that is, we have options left, so we must make our choice very carefully. We have options left, so we must make our choice very carefully. What do you feel when you read this question? What do you feel? If you see this specific word, it gives one kind of negative feeling. Very carefully, which means the lack of adequate choices or option. Lack of adequate choices or option instead of positive one. And when it is negative and also options countable plural noun, definitely we shall choose few. Definitely we shall choose or opt in the option which is few instead of other option. So we choose the option which is few because it's negative. And also this subject, options are countable plural noun, plural, not singular, because we use few, the few, or a few with countable plural nouns. So here few is the correct option. Next question is, if I have moments, I would love to show you the new design prototypes. If you have moments, I would love to show you the new design prototypes. If you have. So we know this kind of senses is a sense of idiomatic expression and we don't use so much logic behind it, and always we use in this kind of idiomatic expression, that is, if you have a few moments, we use it in a positive way. So here a few is the correct option. A few is the correct option. If you have a few moments, I would love to show you the new design prototypes. Quite positive here. Positive tone. And that's why we shall use a few, not few, which is negative. So next question is, items that remained undamaged after the fire were moved to a secure warehouse. Items that remained undamaged after the fire were moved to a secure warehouse. So if you read this, relative clause, if you read it very specifically, this relative clause, you will feel that remain undamaged. Which one? That remain undamaged. The previous item, those specific group of items. And it is specific. When it's specific, we should know, we should use the few because it indicates something specific, something definite. So here, the few is the correct option. The few items that remain undamaged after the fire were moved to a secure warehouse. The few is the correct option here. So let's move to the next question. So the next question, the historical novel contains factual errors making it highly reliable for academic reference. The historical novel contains factual errors making it highly reliable for academic reference. The word highly reliable itself gives us one kind of positive sense, and when it is positive sense, we know which one we should opt in here. This option, that is a few. Maybe it indicates small amount, maybe it's also a little bit amount, but not insufficient. It's sufficient, so we should use a few with this positive tone. The historical novel contains a few factual errors, means a very few amount, a very small amount of factual errors that making it highly reliable for academic reference. So A is the correct option here. Next one is, I managed to save dollars from my allowance last month so I can finally buy the book. I managed to save dollars from my allowance last month so I can finally buy that book. If you read the sentence, you will feel like one kind of positive sense. When you read the sentence, I managed to save how much? Very little amount of dollars from my allowance last month, some money, little bit money, but I think it's sufficient to buy the book. And that's why when it gives a small amount of money, one kind of positive sense, we should definitely choose a few option as a correct one, because a few deals with small amount of thing, but it deals with sufficiency, optimism, one kind of positive tone, and the remaining option are incorrect. So here a few is the correct option. So finally we complete our 15 important questions based on PYQ. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it until the last part, you can hit the like button, share it, and leave your comment in the comment box below. If you're new here on my channel, subscribe my channel, press the like button and also the small button. Yes, after subscribing, press the small button, and that's all about it. Tata, see you again. Bye.